Today we're going to extend our knowledge from slope-intercept form into standard form. Standard form is what we do when we have to get y alone. Typically, when we have to get y alone, it's already written in what's called standard form. Okay? There's three ways to write a linear equation. You have slope-intercept, standard, and point slope. Point slope you'll learn more about in 8th grade, but I thought I would explore standard with you here in 7th. What you're going to be able to do today, you are going to translate between forms of linear equations and identify intercepts. My main learning target, you're going to graph from standard. What you know how to do and what we did when you just came in, we got y alone. I gave you an equation that said graph it, and you got it in slope-intercept form. You got y by itself. That's all fine and dandy. It just gets confusing when there gets to be a lot of negatives, and sometimes kids forget to divide by a -2, or maybe they move the x term over wrong. There is an awesome, easy strategy to graph from standard form. Standard form is written as ax plus by equals c. Okay, ax plus by equals c. Maybe you can relate to what I've shown you before, like 2x, that's a y, 2x plus 2y equals 8. And I'd say graph it. You would subtract 2x and divide by 2. Well, you're not going to have to do that anymore. You can just graph it from here. Here's the properties, why we like standard form. First off, the x and y are always on the left side of the equal sign. They're hanging out together on the same side. Standard form, you write things in alphabetical order. X is always before the y. And a major property of standard form in 8th grade standard actually is there are never any fractions. If there's fractions, in the end we get rid of fractions. That's fun. I like that. There's one other thing. Make another bullet. You always need to start out positive in standard form. Sometimes you got a negative hanging out on the outside first. You need to get rid of it. You always want to start your day out positive, start your equation out positive. So, should always start out positive. You can get negative along the way, but you need to make sure that you make it start to positive. Okay, next. You need to know intercepts. Intercepts, we know from y equals mx plus b, we know the y-intercepts. Intercepts are just where you cross the axes. And I want us to analyze this for a minute. For the x-intercept, what is the x-intercept? Where did I cross the x-axis here? 1, 2, 3, 4, -5 approximately. So the x-int is -5. What do you notice about the y value at the x-intercept? What is this? What is the y value?
0.
0. I didn't go up or down any. Okay? Y is 0 there. Interesting. So it's like there's no y. Right? The y-intercept is at 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you notice about the x at the y-intercept?
0.
Yep, x is 0. So that's the main property. This is the heart of standard form is that the x-intercept and the y-intercept, the opposite variable is 0. At the x-intercept, y equals 0. And at the y-intercept, x is going to equal 0. What I have here, this is my little intercept t-chart. It's what you will use for your assignments the next couple days. The x and y intercept. What's your next page say? An example? Perfect. Let's just go right to the example. Okay, ready? To find intercepts, what I do is I cover up the opposite variable. Before I show that to you, I'm going to do the first one the typical way. And then you'll see, oh yeah, the opposite variable just kind of cancels out. And then you will solve. So, make a t-chart on this first one. Make sure you write at the x and y equals 0, y and x is equal to 0. So now I'm plugging 0 in for y. 3x plus 4 times 0 equals 24. That's me plugging in a 0 where the y is. That's me graphing this line. Right now you might be like, let me just get y alone. It's much easier. This is easier in a second after we get the trick. What happens here? What's 4 times 0?
0.
Do I need to write 0? So it's just 3x equals 24. What's x equal? X is equal to 8. Okay? That tells me that I cross the x-axis when x is 8. When x equals 0, I plug in the 0 right there. 3 times 0 plus 4y equals 24. What's 3 times 0?
0.
Do I need to write it?
No.
Okay, so 4y equals 24. Y is 6. So notice what truly happens. You just cancel out that other variable. And I think that's what I tell all my kids to do. Cover up the opposite variable and solve as I have written right there. Now if I were to graph it, and I think I have a page just for graphing, but just to show you quick, I cross the x-axis at 8, the y-axis at 6, approximate, clearly I'm not scaling this, and that's what my line would look like. So easy to graph like that. I just plot the intercepts, connect. Okay, the next one, make your t-chart. At the x end, y is 0, or I cancel the y out. I don't go up or down anything. At the y end, x is 0. Now watch how I handle this. When I'm a student and doing it on my worksheet, I usually use my pinky or finger to cover up the opposite variable. Here I'm going to use this. At the x end, y is 0, so I just cancel that out. What do I have left? Negative 2x equals 20. X is negative 10. At the y end, I cancel the x term out. Cancel that out, and I get negative 4y is 20. Y is negative 5. Okay, so I see if I see x and y are on one side and they say graph, I right away say, okay, I can find the intercepts or get y alone. Both strategies are effective. However, today I'm going to make sure that you only use intercepts because I want you practicing that skill. Okay, x-intercept y is 0. That means I cancel out the y term, and I get the x-intercept is 9. X equals 9. At the y-intercept, x is 0, so I cancel out the x term, and I get 3y equals 9. Y is 3. Okay? Same thing. Usually when I do these, I right away write my y equals 0 and x equals 0. When y is 0, I cancel out that y term, and I get 5x equals 9. X is 9/5, or 4 1/2. It's okay to have a fraction. Oh yeah, that's what I meant. Good call. The next one Canceling out the x term, you get negative y equals 9. Y equals negative 9. All right, we're going to move to graphing. Try to fill this out. All right, we kind of previewed this already. I'm sure that you can figure it out pretty fast. But to graph in standard form, all you need to do is find the intercepts. So find out what the x and y intercepts are by making that t-chart. Plot and, oh, this is the hard part, connect the dots. Okay. All right. Here we go. We're going to graph this equation. I have an x int, y int, line. At my x int, y equals 0. At my y int, x is equal to 0. So I'm going to cancel out the y. Looks like my x int is negative 2. Cancel out the x. Now be careful. A lot of kids forget that this is a negative 2, so you need to make sure to be aware of that. Negative 2y is equal to negative 2. Y equals 1. So my x int is at negative 2. My y int at 1. Plot and connect. Okay, that's my learning target for today. So we are done for today.